The Mandalorian Season 3 is out in full on Disney+, the Star Wars show starring Pedro Pascal and Katie Sackhoff, whose Bo-Katan has been upgraded to a co-lead character this season. So you may remember the amazing ending to Season 2, which seemingly closed the previous 16-episode arc and promised something completely new to come. Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, has abandoned his creed and removed his helmet in front of other people in order to save Grogu's life. Grogu himself left to train with Luke Skywalker, and Moff Gideon, the main villain of those two seasons, has been finally defeated and captured by the New Republic. So, great, right? Well, let me say outright that the third season seems to backpedal and seems to be afraid of following this road into the new and unexplored, and disappointingly goes back to the usual and tried stuff pretty much right away. In a way, it completely resets the ending of Season 2 and therefore, for me at least, diminishes its impact. So what happens, without too many spoilers, is Din goes back to his faction of Mandalorians, learns he needs to go to the destroyed planet of Mandalore in order to fulfill a quest which will erase his sin of removing his helmet and allow him to be one of them again. Grogu is back with him, and by the way, the reunion has already happened in the book of Boba Fett last year, which for some strange reason just became The Mandalorian Season 2.5 out of nowhere for 3 episodes. So if you haven't seen that other show, I imagine you can be very confused. And finally, Moff Gideon has escaped the New Republic and is still out there as a threat. The show goes from there into the usual mix of side adventures and the larger plot that's sort of looming in the background. So I am a huge fan of Star Wars and Mandalorian in particular. Until Andor came out, I thought this was the best thing to come out of Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back. I even went as far as to give both previous seasons a 10 out of 10 rating because I thought they were perfect at what they set out to do. This new season is a definite step down. It no longer feels like this amazing show that knows exactly what it's doing at all times. It's much more uneven and meandering, with some plot lines being really underwhelming. I will start with the good stuff. The dynamic of Mando and Grogu is still very entertaining. I love seeing those characters together on the screen. Bo-Katan is a welcome addition to the regular cast as well and has a compelling arc of her own, even though I wasn't entirely sold or thrilled about her at the beginning. I grew to really appreciate this character's presence. It all still looks amazing. Special effects are spectacular, and the music is good, although Ludwig Göransson left and someone else is doing the score this time around. However, as I said, this season is uneven, and the problem for me is that the strong episodes are not as strong as they used to be, and the weak ones, well, the weak ones are rough. The first episode of the season felt very disjointed and full of random ideas and plot lines. I was honestly worried for the rest of the season until episodes 2 and 3 sort of course corrected. Episode 6 is really strange because on the one hand, I dig the vibe of it. I was thoroughly entertained, but at the same time, the plot of it makes absolutely no sense at all. And then episode 8, the finale, is just really underwhelming. It feels like the show is doing side quests for 6 episodes. Then in episode 7, suddenly sets up a bunch of really important stuff and ends on a cliffhanger, only to quickly and sort of anticlimactically resolve everything in episode 8 in like 25 minutes. I watched it and I was like, that's it? That was the big thread? That's all over now? I wanted more. Anyway, though, you can probably see my disappointment, so let me make it clear. I still enjoyed the show. I still think that overall it's a solid season, but it's just not quite at the same level as it used to be, and that gap is noticeable. It felt like an arc ended, the creators didn't have a great idea of where to go from that, so they decided to rehash what worked before. And I only hope they don't stick to this approach going forward, because at some point you do need to shake things up.